Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, "We take care of our own," as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 106 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we recap the fifth and final showcase of the 2021-22 season. However, we kick things off with Andrew Trimble of the New England Wolves as he joins the podcast to discuss the 7th Annual JBT Night in Laconia. Moving along to the weekly rundown, and while some spots stayed the same, others changed, with the latest update made to the EHL and EHLP power rankings. Further along in the Ecru Fantasy Challenge, we make some new selections and then preview all the big matchups that are set to take place with our final What to Watch For segment. I'm joined now by Andrew Trimble from the New England Wolves. How's it going, Andrew?
Good. I wish we had some of your co-hosts on with you. I wanted the Festivus style air some grievances.
They are too busy getting their fantasy picks ready. So
that's convenient for Anthony. So I wanted to add a couple things I wanted to talk to him about. There's a prediction earlier in the year that the Wolves were part of the struggle bus, maybe. I don't know. The teams are not doing so hot.
Yeah.
Well, now we've won 3 in a row, and we're doing okay.
I'll make sure he hears that part for sure. The bigger reason, though, why I'm having you on the podcast this week, because it's a very special week for your organization. JBT Night is coming up on Saturday night. Can you start by telling us who JBT was?
Sure. JBT is John Bradley Thompson. He's was a local Guelph boy who was diagnosed with DIPG in 2013. He fought a 10-month battle with basically an inoperable brain cancer that's very rare. And he was remembered throughout our community as, just a kid who kept a smile on his face, battled through some immensely difficult challenges, and the whole community embraced that challenge and raised a lot of money for a great cause. The Cure Starts Now. So that's John Bradley Thompson in a nutshell. His family is one of the more prominent families here in the Lakes region who's doing tremendous things in the community, and we want to keep his spirit alive with the JBT Night each year.
And this is the 7th year of this event. No organization does what you do in the community, but this is kind of the marquee event. How did it grow so big?
Sure. Well, we started it in that 2015-16 season. You mentioned that in the post you put on the website this week. We wanted to make it a rallying cry because we were struggling that year at the EHL elite level, and the kids got to know the fight for John Bradley Thompson that he was enduring during that season. The first year was a small event. When we added the shootout in the second year, it really grew to enormous. It grew throughout the community, and now on any given normal night with the JBT event, we have almost 1,000 fans. Mm-hmm. We raise $25,000 to $30,000, and it's become a huge event in the community. So it's been pretty awesome to see it grow.
Let's start with the shootouts. Is there one of the 5 that you've had so far that really stands out to you? Like that's always a year that you'll remember the most?
There's characters I remember for sure. Mark Kumpel bribing Frankie Filato, the goal judge, with $5. If Mark had made it $20, he probably would have got a goal on that one. Steve Leach coming in, former Boston Bruin Steve Leach coming in and ripping one off the crossbar that terrified the goaltender. That was pretty good. Derek Becker, who played for the Los Angeles Kings, asking me pregame tips on a goaltender. That was pretty fun. And then probably our greatest champion has been Chad Barron. Chad Barron has been talking junk for the last 2 years throughout the community. Every time I see him in the summer, when he comes over to my house and then passes out on my couch, he tells me how he's going to, win the JBT event every single year. And he gives me a breakdown on his shooting technique. So it's been great. It's been a lot of fun shooters out there for sure. I can't pick out one particular event because they all been great, but it's the shooters that make the event for sure.
And for myself personally, I'm kicking myself because last year was a little bit of a smaller pool when you look back at the years that you've had, and I finished second, and then I log in this year, and now the it's a huge crowd. I have a UNH alum that I'm going against. My chances are slim.
Your chances are slim, Neil, but you've had the opportunity to scout whatever goalies in net. It's mostly going to be an EHLP goalie, so you've seen those goaltenders, and you know what you're looking for. So, if you can add a move or two to your repertoire and know what you're going up against, I think it gives you a good advantage.
That my thing will be how much rust am I going to have when I first get on the ice in the first period. I'm hoping to get a goal in that first intermission and move it on to the second intermission, but sitting there thinking about it for 20 minutes is going to be tough. But outside of the shootout, you obviously play a game every year, and there's different things that we always talk about on the podcast, tough buildings to play in. Maybe one other thing is you never bet against the Wolves on JBT night. Why does something special always happen for your team on that night?
I think it really comes down to it's the week before. So today's Wednesday. So Tuesday we brought in Jesse to speak to our whole program.
Yep.
And he describes what it was like. That 10-month struggle and losing a child and watching your child have to overcome this immense adversity, and how the community responded to that, and what the expectations are going to be on JBT night. And then the kids go out on the ice and they see that there's 500 to 1,000 fans watching them play. Mm-hmm. It's a North American League or USHL atmosphere. It's different than a typical EHL game. So whether it's falling down 4 or 5 goals against the Connecticut Chiefs, or falling down 3 against the Lumberjacks, or last year falling down 3 against the Avalanche, the defending champion, the guys don't give up. The guys want to see it through, just like all those fans want to pay tribute to JBT for sure.
And this is kind of a similar question to what I asked you before with the shootout. What if there's one particular that stands out? I'm going to try and put more pressure on you because you just brought it up. The comeback against the Lumberjacks, the wild comeback against the Chiefs last year, maybe ranks above them all. Does it in your mind? Because last year was really special.
Last year was special because the events like that didn't take place. Okay. I set a goal like at Christmas. It was really a struggle to get to Christmas. Well, yep. I mean, you know better than anybody. It was a struggle to get those games in and get to Christmas. And I said, I don't know if I can use the language, but I said, well, I'm going to make something of this year. I was like, F it. I'm going to make something of this year. And we're going to do an event every single week, whether it's raising money for a local restaurant or our mental health clinic here in Laconia, or toy drives, or we're going to make something of the year. And I got a lot of pushback. Like, there were places that said, no, we can't do an event because of COVID. And some of these things we could do completely remotely, but they just didn't want to do it, or they were understaffed, or they were dealing with their own kind of internal issues. So when Jesse said thumbs up and said, let's do the event, but let's do it different. Let's do it remotely. Let's have a free YouTube feed. Let's scale it down and have people who are already in the rink and probably already had COVID doing the shootout. When he said yes to that, it was like, we're on. Let's make it happen. So even though our donation amounts were lower than normal, the event was probably more special because we just made it happen. Yeah. And that shows a testament to like the people who are involved, that they want to get it done and do the right thing.
And hopefully this Saturday will feel, like you said, more normal with that big crowd. When you look back at all these years and just the grand total for the amount of money that you've raised, does it surprise you at all?
Yeah, because my expectations when we did it the first year, it was like, let's do it. Let's get the guys excited about something. Let's make sure that Jesse knows that I cared about John Bradley Thompson. I remember the first time I met that kid. I mean, that was a big deal. So we wanted to make sure that his legacy lived on. And although, the first year was kind of small, when he was signed up for the second year, it was like we got some momentum here. And it's the ball rolls downhill. Like I can't say it was like it was any kind of grand wizardry. It's just like everybody wanted to get involved and they wanted to do something, and they wanted to be a shooter, or people reached out throughout the year, and it made it really easy to do and really exciting to do. And like you said, we look back now, our chapter's raised $1 million.
Yeah.
The game alone is almost over $150,000. Like,
Crazy.
I coach hockey, right? I coach hockey. And I feel like I've done something good in the world. I'm okay with that,
Yeah. I can't wait to be a part of it. For me personally, it was pretty cool to go back and text a lot of the people that donated last year, and within an instant donated again this year. So I have a couple things on my calendar to get some skating in this week, get my hands going a little bit this week. I hope to be ready for Saturday night, win or lose. It's going to be awesome. And you guys do such a great job with the event.
Thank you very much. But I mean, Neil, I got to know what move are you working on?
Well, if whoever is in net hears this, he has to know that for me to get denied the Forsberg move last time makes me want to pull off. I think it was a little bit a skate then post. I gotta execute it this time. So
okay,
if I don't, then that's another full year of thinking about it before I go to sleep each night. So I gotta pull it off this time. I won't say which time I'm going to try it, so that way the goalie can stay on their toes.
Do you have any requests from Jeff or the Wolves hater Anthony?
I just be tuned in, and like I said, you guys do such a great job with this event. It's I remember early on in the year circling it on my calendar and knowing this is the second year I get to participate, and I can't wait to be a part of it. So thank you again for that.
Well, I appreciate all your contributions, Neil, and we're looking forward to a good night.
Thanks again to Andrew Trimble for coming on the podcast this week. Obviously, a special night for them coming up on Saturday night in Laconia, JBT Night, the 7th annual JBT Night in the 6th not so many one-on-one shootout that I will be participating in. But with that, let's bring in the Ecru now. And guys, I know I just recorded that interview, so Anthony, you haven't heard it yet, but a couple shots at you because the Wolves have now won 3 straight EHL games.
Uh-oh. Anthony, you're gonna have to answer Mr. Andrew Trimble.
Oh man,
he's coming for you, son. What you gonna do when Trimble's coming for you?
They're not letting go of that comment I made back in the first week or two of the season. But you know what? And I've said it before. The Wolves have talent. They have Trimble, Jelinski's. They have Kavan Dahl, Christian Malik, and they just came off a win against the New Hampshire Avalanche. So they're second in the division right now. I know they're a good team, and it looks like they're getting hot at the right time. So good on the Wolves, and it'll be exciting to see them play down the stretch.
And getting hot at the right time is a perfect segue into our power rankings, because I think it's pretty obvious we're about to go with number 1. So with that, let's get to the weekly rundown.
It's time for the Ecru's Weekly Rundown.
The Show Weekly Rundown is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
And it got a little hairy there for a second, Anthony, in the 87's final game of the showcase against Seacoast. But to have 14 straight wins, which is tied for the 5th longest active winning streak in the EHL, you combine that with the Avalanche dropping a game, the 87s have to be number 1, guys. They have to be.
I am totally fine with that. I give my vote. I said that on my broadcast that there's just no way. You've won 14 games. We keep doing the what have you done for me lately when it comes to the power rankings. Well, all they do is hashtag 87.
Wait.
I'm running out of characters.
The good part about that, Jeff, is Jeff's voice actually went away as he was saying that. Anyone else hear that?
I mean, that was such an exciting game, though, between the 87s and Spartans. I was on color commentary with that. The Spartans play-by-play was actually calling that game. Dave Tuttle, shout out to him. He did a terrific job on the call. And the 87 scored 2 goals in, I think it was 19 seconds to tie the game and then take the lead. So it went right down to the wire, and that finish was just unbelievable.
How does that team win 4 straight, lose 8 straight, win 14 straight? I don't get it.
I mean, when you pick up a player like Mettler and put him on a line or pair him up with Herrick, 2 top defensemen in the league, you got to expect you're going to start doing well.
But Lauren, I think credit also goes to Matt Anastasio, because the team's offense, the success of their offense really correlates with him arriving on the team and then just hitting the ground running.
Tobin Winslow
And-
too. Don't forget
Yeah,
about him. Another big
Winslow
team man.
and Douglas McGuire.
Yeah.
They've both been terrific additions to the blue line, where they're good puck moving defensemen. And this is a team who's been good defensively throughout the season, but with them on the blue line, they're not only even more solid on the back end, but they help transition the play forward.
Jeff already referenced their first hashtag, which with all the W's is hashtag 87way. The second hashtag is our time. And you haven't stopped using that even in the middle of that 8-game losing streak, Anthony. So props to you for that, because maybe it is their time. But they're number one. I think despite the loss to the Wolves, a division rival, I don't think the Avalanche can fall further than 2.
Yeah, they had an 8-1 win versus the Apple Corps and a 5-1 win versus the Chiefs, outscoring your opponents 13-1 after being off for a month. That's pretty good.
Well, they had won 9 straight games going into the loss with the Wolves.
Right. I'm just saying, coming back from a month-long break, you
Yeah.
always do I always say Russ versus Russ. Russ did them good. They got a little healthy and they came back flying to score 13 goals and only give up 13-2 was the goals for, goals against, one each game. But
Yeah.
to do that combination of being able to score at will like that and not give up a lot, that's saying something after a month off.
This is the easiest start to the EHL power rankings that we've had.
It is.
I feel like you
So-
just jinxed it. I feel like something's gonna happen.
Oh,
now.
no, 3 should be very easy also. The team that went 3-0-0 this past week, 2 wins at the showcase, 1 win today. That's the
Protecting
Ducks.
your Ducks? Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
good.
all
I was
for
gonna
that.
say, whew,
All
making me
for it.
nervous. That was an
Well,
exciting game they had today. Ryan, bro, have yourself a day, kid.
Ryan, bro. Hey, how are you?
the game-winning goal. It's like-
game tire and game winner
Well,
from
I'm-
Ryan, bro.
I was going to talk about the game-winning goal because it's like, is he going to pass? He has a 2-on-1, and he just picked the spot so well.
I had
Although-
that 4-3 game that they squeaked out against the Lumberjacks the other day when 6 seconds left. It was the Ducks that almost let in a goal, but then the time ran out and the net came off and they decided that 4-3 Ducks escaped with the win, and they look good this weekend. They did. It was Fatadad.
So this is what's interesting, right? Like we have no issues. 87's Avalanche Ducks. 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom, boom. Got it. But the 5-game winning streak for the Ducks, we're not going to do too much of this yet, but when you look at that 5-game winning streak, the scores are 4-3 in overtime, 5-4 in a shootout, 5-3, 4-3, and 4-3 in overtime. Are they a true contender, or are they just coming out on the right side of these 1-goal games? No one wants to go.
I think they have it in them to make things work. Sometimes it takes a little bit for them to find their footing in some games, but when they're hot, and they will let you know.
I think they're a true contender. I mean, I think the additions of Broadfoot and Evgen have added some length to their lineup. The combination of Miller and Fatadad and net, I think that's real. We'll see if one of them takes over more than the other, or if they're going to continue to split time a lot. But I think they have the right pieces there, Neil. And I mean, actually, and Lauren just said too, don't forget about the back end. You got Ryan Bro, William White. Those are 2 big defensemen. So I'd say they're here to play.
Plus, they have a couple guys out with like injuries right now still too. So it's like once they have a full set of guys, they're gonna be even better.
Just one thing to add about the Protect Junior Ducks as well. Jefferson, you brought up Rhett Evian, and he can shoot the puck. He's a big player who can skate pretty quickly, but he has a laser beam of a wrist shot. And when they played the 87s with him playing for the first time, I was happy that he did not take many shots, because if he took any more, he could have picked up some goals.
Hey, he already has 5 or 6 goals in 5 or 6 games that he's been there. And is Evian, let's get that right for the record, not Evgen.
Yes,
Evian.
Evian.
Got
If
it.
you guys don't mind saying it
Done.
about 5 more times before I say it with my fantasy picks, that would be great. So,
Right? Evian. The
So-
J is like a Y, Neil.
all right,
Evian.
1, 2, and 3 was easy. I don't know about 4 and 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's the 4th and 5th teams that were in. Walpole was ranked number 3 last week. Railers were ranked number 5. We strategically said no receiving votes to see what happened. And you look at what happened. The Express at the showcase beat the Wizards and they lost to the Warriors. And then for the Railers, they had, I mean, you go to a showcase and you get to face the 87s and the Little Flyers. That's not really the easiest showcase schedule, but they dropped both of those games.
Yeah. And then
are they both out? And if they're both out, who's in?
I think I feel like I'm gonna get some heat for this potentially, but I think 4 might have to go to Valley because they've been on the up and up lately, looking really good.
Did you hear the mark? Did you hear the mark?
NASA,
He agrees.
Warriors.
Yeah, listen to him, Neil. He agrees.
You know what?
Or someone's home at
he's appeared on screen now too.
Yep.
He's looking out for Valley. You know what? They've won 4 of 5. I'm okay with it.
I'll say the Rangers just came back from break 2. They split the weekend. They lost to the Chiefs 4-3. Overtime beauty from Dominic Cherko. What a slapper that was. The Chiefs got up for that game. They did beat the Rough Riders pretty soundly the day before. So there's another team that we have to consider too. They won 6-1 versus the Rough Riders.
Are we in consensus?
Valley at 4.
Valley at 4 though.
That's what I'm wanting. That's why I'm kind of bringing this up too, just to kind of continue add some Rocky whistles. Like you said, it's been so easy.
We have 2 right now. Anthony, Jeff, are you okay with that?
Valley at 4.
I mean, they've been looking better lately. They've always had really good scores, but now they're picking things up on the back end to clean it up and secure those wins because they can score like an insane amount of goals, but it's not going to help you if your back end is letting you out to dry. And they're finally figuring that out, and it's working for them.
Yeah, Carreri's looked good for them. Hansen actually played in the game that I did the other day, and they won. But what was it? Ryan texted us last night. They're 4-1-1 in their 6 games since flipping the calendar to 2022. Yeah, so like we said, Railers I think have to move out, Neil.
Does Walpole move out?
That's what I'm thinking. Do we have the Rangers go in? We did not have the Rangers in there last week. They took
Is there somebody else that we haven't?
Week.
Is there somebody else that we haven't mentioned?
I think Valley definitely should get 4, but I think it's definitely an interesting conversation as to who gets that last spot.
I said the Wolves have gotten hot. Warriors have gotten hot. Chiefs have gone back to 500 in the last 10. Railers are cooling off a little bit.
I think Valley goes to 4, and I don't think there's somebody that can jump Walpole enough to get in. I think Walpole has to stay at 5.
You don't think so?
Who would you say?
Would you say the Rangers?
I mean, you could potentially talk about the Wolves. They've been interesting.
They have. It's tough. I don't know.
Well, because the Wolves and the Valley Junior Warriors are both 5-5 in their last 10 games.
Yep.
I think if you were to have to choose between Walpole and BJR, I think Walpole I would keep in. Right now, the Junior Rangers are in a bit of a tough stretch. It started with their loss to the 87s. They closed out 2021 getting shut out by Apple Corps. I think that's a pretty tough loss for them. And then they lost a game in the showcase. So I think it's, like I said, a bit of a tough stretch. I mean, the 87s had that 8-game losing streak. I think any team has to go through a bit of adversity throughout this season. But I think for the time being, I'd be willing to keep BJR out and at the very least keeping Walpole in and then putting in one of the New England Wolves or the Valley Junior Warriors.
Yeah, I see your points about Walpole and Valley.
Can we also point out, Anthony just said, he mentioned the teams that are 5-5 in their last 10. There are 6 of them in the league. A third of the league is 5-5, right?
Parity that time of year.
Like that's crazy to see right now. And to be the ones that are above 5-5, we got 4.
Like Avalanche 87s.
Walpole.
Third. Walpole
and Protec. So I would say Valley 4, Walpole 5, and keep an eye on the Wolves with receiving votes /6.
I'm fine with that. I was not against Valley. I was just trying to bring up because it was a little too easy for the first 3, like you said.
Okay.
I think Valley does deserve it. I did see we broke the broadcaster's jinx. That's the ongoing joke with Claude McGrath of mine that I think they were 0-6 when I call games for them this year. So
is that good?
They won the other day, and that is over. So that monkey is off my back, and thank God.
So
that was a 3-2 win over Maryland.
You know what's funny is when we shift over to the EHLP, I think we're going to have just as easy a time with the first three slots, right? So for the Railers, they had just one game at number 1. They beat the Renegades 4-2, so they stay. For the Avalanche, they had 3 games. The only loss they had was in overtime to the Little Flyers. And then at number 3, the Rangers had 2 games and they won both of them. I think everyone stays where they are. I see one nod of the head. The top 3 teams in the EHLP power rankings combined to win 5 of their 6 games. The only loss was in overtime to the Little Flyers.
And the MVP of our EHLP All-Star game was on the 3rd team in the power rankings.
I'm just saying, I think Railers, Avalanche, Rangers stay in that order. Does anyone differ on that?
Nope, that sounds good.
Okay, number 4 has to change because the Chiefs lost all 3 of their games. 2 of them went to overtime or a shootout, but they lost all 3 of their games.
Yep.
So who's number 4?
We had Valley receiving votes last week.
Yes,
So
we did.
Push them in.
I don't know, though, because they dropped their first game of the weekend to the Avalanche and then won the next 2 from there.
I think it's got to go to the Lumberjacks on this one.
8-2 in their last 10.
Because they've won their last 5 games, 8-2 in the last 10, like 7-game win streak, I think, or something like that. Like you got to put them in there.
Yeah.
Sounds good. If we're doing that with Valley and the EHL as far as the hottest team lately, 8-2 in the last 10, I think Coach Gustin's P team should get popped up to 4. I'm fine with that. My vote's in.
Does Valley still receive votes? Second week in a row?
Yeah. I can get behind that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So that was easy enough.
Wow.
Are you guys ready? Okay.
Thank you, Showcase Weekend.
We'll go on to fantasy.
It's time for the Ecru Fantasy Challenge.
And the Ecru Fantasy Challenge is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code ESHOW, that's ESHOW, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
Yay! Jeff and Lauren got the 10 bonus points for the All-Star
Go,
game.
Jeff.
Yay!
Let's go. I went in and shook your hand the other day, Neil, in the office when I returned to Showcase play on Sunday. Said, thank you, sir. You gave me that funny look.
It was a great All-Star game, though.
Oh, there was.
It started off like I was like, this is not really a good start. I'm kind of nervous about this.
I was worried we weren't going to see anything out of the white team. I was really sad. I was like, we're going almost like halfway through this game and the white team hasn't gotten on the board yet. I'm like, I'm like, yeah, I was happy for my team. And I'm like, I want to see some fun stuff from the kids on the white team. I'm like, it stressed me out a little bit. Cause I'm like, yeah, I'm happy my team's winning, but I want to see guys on the other side doing some stuff too. It's the All-Star game. Like, we got to have fun. But I'm like, this is wild that it took like almost half the game for them to finally get one in.
A while for the white All-Stars to get a little coal in the engine and get that train moving.
Was it 4-0 or 5-0? I think it was 4, right?
Did you guys just not have enough trains on your team?
I have the paper here. Thank you, Jefferson Mills.
You're welcome.
Let's see. It was 1, 2, 3. It was 5-0 before they finally got on the board.
Woo! Nash, what do you think about that? Thoughts?
Yeah,
he pops into the camera.
He's looking out for the white team in the first and second period. You picked that team, Dad.
Yeah, not so good.
It was, but I think the fun moments that took place were like when Zabo scored against Kevin Wright, like Seahawk on Seahawk, like that's kind of what we were going for though. And like the entire Seahawks EHL and EHLP teams were there. And they went. I don't know if it was Anthony or Tyler that said it, but one of them, because I had my earpiece in and I heard one of them saying something about when that goal happened, they're like, oh my God, it's Seahawk on Seahawk crime. I told the one kid on my bench, I leaned down and I was like, they just said that on the broadcast, and he was just cracking up. He thought that was great. Like,
that was a quote from Mr. Tyler Arago. He said that.
I do that all the time.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Seahawk on Seahawk crime.
When it's like a similar number, I'll do that, like 22 on 22 crime. It's like, good job, Tyler. Nice wrinkle.
Plus the fact that 30 seconds prior, I had just like read off some stats about the BJR kids that were in the All-Star game on both teams. And then like 30 seconds later, they scored. And I was like, okay, pretty good.
Well, Lauren, that's how you know that you are a sportscaster, because we have this. Jeff would know this too. We have a superpower, and it's jinxing things.
Jinx. Yep.
When we mention something,
It's been a
it
penalty-free
just
period,
happens.
Anthony. Hand up.
So good job on getting Team White on the board. You mentioned the BJR trio.
Plus, I think I was on their bench when that happened too. So I was like, okay, it's fitting. I'm like, I just talked about them. I'm standing on the bench that has most of the BJR kids. Makes sense.
So to recap the all-star points that the group got throughout the season, Jeff got 28, Lauren got 22, Anthony got 6, I got 3. So not great.
Gobble, gobble.
When you combine that with what my team did this week, even more not great. So Rickard Jelensky's 3 assists, 1 on the power play, 7 points for me. I felt great about Nicholas Delaire, the way that he was playing going into the showcase, but he is saving it for this week. Ronan Mobley with
but he's not in your team.
Yeah, seriously. He's Ronan Mobley with a pair of victories for me, but in typical Avalanche fashion, they just don't give up shots. So
they block a lot of shots.
Yeah, two wins, but 2 goals against and only 30 saves. So not enough for me there, unfortunately. And then Matt Sedana was a pair of assists. Michael Saneri, 1 goal, 1 assist, 1 power play point. So again, 29 fantasy points isn't bad, but when I'm competing against the 3 of you, it sucks. So
it's like the old NFL versus the new NFL. Remember when 3,000 yards passing was great?
Yeah,
that guy's thrown for 5,000 yards like asleep.
It's just stupid.
Fantasy's changed, buddy, since we started it. Sorry.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, now that
I can keep up, but you can't. It's okay.
Like I'm clearly in last place with a grand total of 404.2 points, and in last place in the week. We'll start with my forward. The Little Flyers just got this forward back. He was actually up in Canada, but obviously a lot going on in Canada right now that he returned to the Little Flyers. That's Connor McDowell. He's already got 5 points with PLF. They have 4 games this week. What?
Say that again? Who did you say?
Connor McDonald.
Mac Donnell, I found out.
Mac Donnell.
Coach Catron had this conversation.
Okay, then Alo and Catron have done me dirty because they just call him Big Mac. Okay, that's not fair.
I just set you up because I had this conversation after the periods, and Coach Catron goes, "Yeah, Jefferson. Actually, it's Mac Donnell. I just
Mac
found
Donnell.
out."
Okay, well he's
been in our organization for a little while, and the other day he said that, and we were like, him and Alo were surprised too. So yes,
yeah.
that's
well
Mac
now
Donnell.
that's good. Next time Alo or Catron calls me when they hear this, I'm not answering. All right. They said just to call him Big Mac on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big Mac and
that's what he told me too. I said I can't call him that on the air, Coach. I said I wish I could call him Mac down the wing, but
okay. Well, Connor Mac Donnell is my forward pick. Okay.
Well done, sir.
As for my defenseman, I mentioned this in my interview with Andrew Trimble. Something crazy always happens on JBT night for them. They've had wild comeback after wild comeback, and this year it will be led by Julius Cavandel. You heard it here first. I'm sticking with Mobley and net. I haven't done this all year. I'm picking back to back the same player because they have 4 starts, and I know.
Did you say you're picking the usuals, Neil?
No, I'm not, because it's going when it comes to goaltending, you have to pick off the games that are taking place and who's going to get starts.
Who's going to start more? There's not a lot of true workhorses.
Like if I don't pick Mobley, somebody else will, and right now I have the chance to pick him first, so I'm going to pick him first. Now that I can keep pronouncing names wrong because I've even heard you guys say this, my utility is Rhett. God, there's so much pressure.
Oh, come on, buddy. What did I say earlier?
Rhett Evian.
There you go.
Okay.
Well done.
So could have been forward of the week. Shout out Terry Watt for that text. He's been great though since he got to the Pro Tech Junior Ducks. He's got 10 points in 6 games to date, including points in 5 straight. He's been just dynamic. So as for my utility, I'm sticking with the Avs also because while their EHL has 4 games, their EHLP has 3. Tyler Setnikov is my EHLP player, and I hope to God I'm not picking last again next week.
Is that a re-rack? Is that from a previous episode? I thought I heard that.
Mac Donnell. I got it in my head.
Mac Donnell.
So who picked next? That was Jeff. So to recap Jeff's week from the showcase, Jeff, as I say every week, I had 29 points, thought it was pretty good. You had 40.8, which typically is pretty good. But when we go against two rookies like we did, I guess it's just not. So
old timers, buddy.
Nick Newman with a goal, Kieran Chung with a goal, Trey Miller with a win in his only start, Garrett Alberti with 4 power play assists for you. Yes. And then the first bonus points of the EHLP fantasy, if you will, because Philip Parker got you the game-winning power play overtime goal against the Chiefs.
So for you, Philip Parker?
A total of
40.8 points for you. You're currently in second place at 443.4. What do you got for picks this week?
I still feel like I'm a lifetime away from Lauren Smith because I feel like every time I get closer, she just keeps pulling away.
Sorry.
She's now, we'll recap her week in a second. We'll wait for that. So we're going to start with, I'm going Warriors heavy. We're all big fans of the
number
Warriors.
number four in the power rankings.
Yes, number 4. I was like, wait, number 4, Bobby Orr, what? Jonathan Lapsa, I got to call his hat trick the other day. That was pretty fun against Maryland. They won 3-2. He scored all 3 goals on the power play and all 3 goals for his squad.
Hat trick
points.
Ding.
He's really good at showcases. If you ever pull up his stats,
he's a showcase monster
and gets points a lot at showcases.
Well, it's too bad we don't have any more showcases.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Jeff, but I need to go out and I need to buy a bell. Like when you're trying to get someone to the counter, because when you say hat trick, I can just hit the bell now.
Hat trick, ding. Laps are pretty good too. Then the next day against the Express, goal and assist, power play, one of those on the power play. So 4 power play points last week for Jonathan Laps, who's up to 17 goals, 7 assists, 5 power play goals, 3 power play assists, 24 points in total. Sticking with the boys up in Haverhill, Massachusetts that are living the dream. Dominic Metro on the back end. He's also been good lately. Had an assist against Maryland. He's been putting up points all year. I think this is the second time I've had him, but got to go back to the well. 6 goals, 16 assists. Now half of his points on the power play. 4 power play goals, 7 power play assists. Has a shorty assist in there too. Justin Guelph. I think I've seen a bunch of you pick him, but I don't think I've picked him yet this year. Another guy that does a lot of damage on the power play, and that's where you're going to pick up extra points. He's got 6 power play goals, 8 power play helpers. And then I'm going to go to BJR for my last 2. My goalies, Nathan Miller. And congratulations to him. He's now a Babson College Beaver in the future. We just had the commitment graphic come out for him. So congrats to Nate. And he's going to play hopefully the majority of this week, but probably not now that I said it. Now it'll be Chris Jackson starting all week. We'll get the seat. Just kidding. And then Max Morris is going to be our my utility P player. And he was the MVP of our EHLP All-Star game. And he's got 33 points in 29 games. So let's go, Max. Over to Anthony, I think.
No, me.
Oh, over to Lauren.
Before we go there.
Anthony won the week. That's right.
Yes. Before we go there,
Sorry,
Jeff, Anthony brought up broadcaster or sportscaster jinxes before. We have a graphic ready for Nathan Miller. We've had it ready for a long time, actually.
You showed it to me in Newington.
It just hasn't happened yet. It just hasn't happened yet.
Jinxed him by making it.
Maybe we did. So maybe this week for Jeff. I'm sure Jeff would love that. Yes, Jeff, we're not going to Anthony yet because they both decided to go over 50 points. Lauren had 53.
He only beat me by less than a point. Let's just say that. So
he still won.
Put it this way.
I'm just going off
what Neil usually tries to do. Yeah, guys, I'm doing really good. You beat me by like 2 points the one time.
Okay, so Team White now it's not now we go with the what ifs. Team White shows up in the first period for us. Anthony's looking at like 63 points. Just putting that out there. But to recap Lauren's week, which got her 53 points. That included 4 goals, 2 assists, 3 power play points for Michael Tersoni from the New Hampshire Avalanche, 3 assists from James Metler, a win and 85 saves from William Billiquay, 4 assists from Kevin Johnston, Evan Gravel did have an assist, but that was in the EHLP All-Star game. Doesn't count. So
it's okay. I still love you, Evan.
53 total points for the fantasy leader at a small total of 502.2.
Better goals and assists. 54 goals, 50 assists.
The luck will run out at some point. But who do you have for picks this week?
I'm excited. I have some fun names on here. Some of these guys were really looking good at the showcase this weekend, so I'm hoping they can keep riding that high this week. I'm starting out up front with a certain Jordan Camilla from the Little Flyers. I feel like we've kind of underrated him a little bit this season. I know Jeff, I think it was like a week or two ago, had him on his team for the first time, so we're finally getting him some fantasy love. He's been doing so good for that team this season. And honestly, I'm surprised we hadn't picked him sooner than Jeff did, so giving him some more love this week. For my defense pick, I don't know if anybody's picked him yet for fantasy before, but I'm taking Dominic Cherico, captain of the Chiefs. Kid looked really good at the showcase with that OT winner. He's a recent college commit. He's riding that excitement as long as he can. So I'm excited to see if he can get me some points. And then in net, I am picking a new face for Valley. Finally figured out how to say his name this weekend when I interviewed him. It's Nico Carreri from Valley. I'm excited to see some more good stuff from him. He got another win this weekend for them, which was huge. And for my utility pick, I'm picking from the Avs, Joe Santoro. He looked really great at the showcase as well. I also got to interview him, which was a lot of fun. The Avs always have a fun time. We mentioned Tersoni on my team last week. He was saying the boys were gelling like hand sanitizer. So they're having some fun over there. And
these guys, some of the things they say.
It's been good to see. It's clearly working for them with how high they are in the standings. And for my P pick, I'm taking one of my gray team all-stars, Mr. Hayden Bullock from the Vermont Lumberjacks. He looked great in that game. And speaking on the Lumberjacks, it was fun to see how many of them showed out for that game. There was a bunch from both the E and the P. So those two teams are definitely super, super close. And it was really cool to see. And it made it a lot more exciting for those guys.
And then we get to Anthony and his 53.8 points. At one point, Anthony, you had my position in last place. Now you don't, as you're at 426 total. To recap your tremendous week, a goal, 5 assists, and 3 power play points for Matt Carlson. 2 goals, 2 assists, 3 power points, and a game winner for Ryan Bro. Just a single start for Nico Carreri, but why Lauren's picking him? He's been very good for Valley since he joined them. He had 1 win with 34 saves against the Walpole Express for 10.8 points. Devlin O'Kane had nothing for you until there was about 16 seconds left in that Seacoast game, and he scores the game winner, which was an absolute snipe. And then Will O'Brien decided,
sorry, Ant, here you go.
Will O'Brien decided to go with 2 goals, an assist, a power play point, and another game winner. So in 1 week, Anthony had 3 game winners. Just throwing that out there.
Wow.
So 53.8 points, and try and match that this week, Anthony. Who you got?
Out of the basement, buddy. Let's go.
Okay, well, we talk about game winners. Well, how about Mr. Clutch for the New England Wolves, Christian Malik? He has 3 game winners this season, including his most recent one against New Hampshire Avalanche. He has 14 points in 30 games, but I think he can get on a bit of a hot streak, so he's going to be my forward pick for the New England Wolves. Another person who I think can get hot, so I'm trying to go by Lauren's strategy of players who will probably get hot for the upcoming week and not just based on what they did. Douglas McGuire, he picked up an assist in that game against the Seacoast Spartans. He has 5 points in 15 games. I mentioned before, just like with Tobin Winslow, he's been an addition to the 87's blue line. He skates well. He moves the puck well. I don't know how he only has 5 points in his first 15 games. I think he can get that total up this upcoming week, so he will be my defender. For goaltending, I have Mr. Joseph Henson. Picked up a win against the Railers Hockey Club, an impressive 5-2 win for the Little Flyers in the showcase. So I'm going with him over there. For the utility position, I'm going with Chris Page. He ended 2021 on a very good note. I had a goal and 2 assists against the Valley Junior Warriors. Hasn't picked up a point in 3 games so far in 2022, but I think that can change. He has 15 goals in 33 games. I think he's someone who can light the lamp in the next couple of games, so I'm going there. For the premier position, he picked up 3 assists in the All-Star game. Head coach Mark Catron was not happy that I didn't give him enough love. He called me a bit of a homer because I gave more love to the Jeffrey Boker / Will O'Brien combination. So I'm going to go with with Downs. He has 23 points in 28 games. He had 2 assists in a game against the 87s to close out 2021. They've only had 1 game in the new calendar year, no points against the Avalanche. But again, I think as the schedule goes on this upcoming week, he's a player who I think will light it up.
Well, that does it for fantasy. I want to move on now. We're going to go to what to watch for.
Why? Because you're in the basement?
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
What to Watch For is presented by Hockey TV, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action through the 2021-2022 season.
So because I get to go first again, different from fantasy, I'm going to give some games to watch. Obviously, I'm excited for JBT night because I will be there participating in the shootout, hopefully not finishing as the first loser, also known as second place again this year.
Wait, first you last. That was for you, Rich DiCaprio, and your movie quotes, and Chris Russo too.
I am skating with the Avalanche on Friday, so to try and get myself prepared.
Ooh, look at you prepping.
So I didn't have any practice last year. We're going to practice once this year.
You're working the toe drag. We're going to do little toe drag moves.
It's actually like a really big game for those two teams. They have a home and home series, and they're currently separated by 1 point in the standings, Seacoast and the Wolves. So right now they're battling for, I guess you could say, who would be home in that playoff series. If that's the 2-3 matchup. So those are 2 huge points. And another 2 huge points on the line also taking place on Saturday night is in the EHLP. The Railers face the Rangers. The Railers, I should say, have a 1-point lead on the Rangers. That battle for number 1 is intense right now. I mean, and whether you get 1 or 2, you're going to get the Seahawks or the Express, and it's not going to be an easy matchup. But of course, the goal is to be number 1. Are there any other matchups or I guess you could say races now that the final showcase is done that you guys are watching closely?
All right, so I'll start off. We were talking about the Valley Junior Warriors and how they're heating up. They have a couple of huge matchups where we'll get to see what they're made of. They have a home game against the Railers Junior Hockey Club.
I'm going to that one.
So, I mean, that should be a good one. And after that, they have a road contest the following day against the Boston Junior Rangers. Now we know the Junior Rangers have hit a little bit of a rough patch the last couple of games, but I still think that the Junior Rangers are always a very tough team to beat. And I think if Coach McGrath can muster out a win in that one, then I think we can all be convinced that the Valley Junior Warriors are in fact for real.
I would agree. That was going to be mine.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game too. I'm actually going to be going to see that Valley Railers game, so I'm excited to see that. And I actually am headed up to Burlington this weekend. I'm going to go hang out with my grandparents for the weekend and catch some Lumbies games. They have a couple games against the Chiefs this weekend, so I'm excited to finally check out that rink. My parents said they used to go there, and so it's right in the town where my family grew up. So I'm excited to check it out and get some game action. Although everybody I talked to from the team, both the players and the coach, they all said make sure you dress warm because apparently it's very, very cold in there. It's gonna be cold outside, but every time I mention I'm coming, everyone's like, make sure you're dressing warm, it's very cold in here. I'm like, okay, I'll put on the layers, but I'm excited to go see that, and there's some fun games coming up. I'm excited.
I just have one thing to add about the Vermont Lumberjacks. I also want to thank the Lumberjacks because they're the ones who, now I called 2 premier games in Hooksett, and it was a half-hour drive to go back to Exeter for the EHLP All-Star game. I rode with the Vermont Lumberjacks bus with the P team, so shout out to Seth Gustin. And one little tidbit, the interior of the Lumberjacks bus looks like it has a wood finish, so it has that log cabin kind of feel. And I remember looking at Coach Gustin, I said, wow, you guys are really going all in with the Lumberjack theme. And he was cracking up. He joked, yeah, it costs a little extra, but got to keep with the theme.
I was glad that you made that bus, Anthony. because I wasn't coming to pick you up. Sorry, had to say that. But anyways, back to Lauren wanting to watch those Lumberjacks games. The last time the Seahawks went up there, they made a bet with their coaches that if they won, they would have to do the what's it called? A polar plunge.
The polar plunge.
Don't know if you could do that because the lake's probably
that.
frozen
That was
regardless. But would be kind of funny. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, that's right. Radcliffe and Richard went in there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really cold this weekend, so I would think it's probably gonna be frozen a little bit by then. You'd have to skate out a little far first before you can get to anywhere you can jump in.
Yeah, you would try and jump, and you would just not be able to go through the ice.
Oh, and happy belated birthday to assistant coach Alex Radcliffe.
Is that today?
I saw them post
Did they post that today?
Instagram page yesterday. Today? It was yesterday.
No, that was yesterday.
Yesterday. Happy belated birthday, Alex. 26 or something.
No, not quite.
Anywho,
not quite.
Off the rails.
We are past the 5th and final showcase of the season.
What about the polar plunge?
Crazy to think that we are past it because we had none last year and then all 5 this year. But for me, what I've noticed every year is once you pass that 5th showcase, that's when the playoff races really start to take shape. We are recording this Wednesday, dropping it Thursday, as we typically do. I actually went down to Providence today to check out the rink, which seemed kind of dumb because I've been there before. But it's crazy to think like we haven't been there in
Schneider,
3
good to
years.
see you again.
We haven't been there since March of 2019. There's a new platform on the far side, if you will. If you walk in and you're on the bench side, on the other side, a new platform where we hope to put our hockey TV camera. But as these races unfold for every division, the 4 in the EHL, the 3 in the EHLP, I think it's really interesting to see what each team has for schedules. Some teams kind of have games right up until the regular season ends. Other teams have a week off. Look at the Valley Junior Warriors. Would you rather give yourself that rest or keep playing games until the last possible moment going into the playoffs?
That's going to change on a team by team basis. I think some teams do well with just kind of staying in the motions. And we just talked about at the top of the podcast, right? Some teams do well with taking some time off. New Hampshire Avalanche in certain year. I mean, 2 wins that I know they fell today to the Wolves, but still the first 2 games back were resounding wins, 8-1, 5-1. So I think that changes team to team, Neil, based on their systems and how these guys operate.
Initial changes to the picks that we made right before the holiday break? I did not. Yes, I did not prepare you guys.
Finals picks?
Off guard. Have your finals picks changed at all with what you've seen since you made them? Do you want me to remind you of what they all were?
I'm trying to remember everyone else.
Mine were. I don't know who I necessarily would move out, but I know one team that's definitely catching my eye is the Ducks. They're kind of making more of a case for themselves, which has been fun to see.
Well, I know Jeff and I both picked them.
Quack.
Because we know that they have a good goaltending duel.
Yep.
Well, let's go through it, right? All 4 of us picked the Avalanche to win their division and go to the finals through that victory. In terms of the East, we had 3 Rangers, 1 Express. In terms of the Central, we had 3 Railers, 1 Chiefs. In terms of the South, we had 2 Little Flyers, 2 87s, and then kind of a mixed bag, if you will, of the teams that would make it as the final qualifiers. 3 of us picked Walpole, 2 of us picked ProTech, 1 of us had Maryland, 1 of us had the Wizards, 1 of us had the Railers. Thoughts? Anything changed besides maybe ProTech starting to stick out for Lauren?
I don't think so. Not right now. I think
I don't know if I could necessarily.
comfortable.
I don't know if you could necessarily drop the Little Flyers, but I think the Ducks are definitely making a case for themselves as of late. The Little Flyers have hit a bit of a rough patch here and there, but the Ducks are making a name for themselves too. The South is one of the toughest divisions, so at this point it could almost be anybody's game down there because they're all just crazy. It's so tight down there.
Do you yourself any changes, Neil? Now we ask you.
Well, I have to figure out some way to stack the bracket that if a prediction is correct, it bumps my points up to first place.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So
You're gonna need a lot of
I
points.
just my big thing that I wanted to say on this is that If it's bold, I guess. But in terms of the final qualifier, we know that each division is going to have at least one team there. And then there's going to be 2 divisions that have 2. I would say it's not too bold when I come out and say there's going to be 2 teams in the South there, which would mean the South team wins the final qualifier against the Central. But I'm going to come out right now on this podcast, January 19th, or dropping the 20th, and say that we're going to have 2 North and 2 South teams there, which means 1 Central and 1 East.
What?
I'm not gonna think about the picks right now. I'm just gonna go with that.
The best division this season.
Right now it's Neil from the North/South.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm going with it.
You're predicting 2 teams from the North.
Yes.
That's a drastic change.
And that means of my picks where I had for the qualifiers, Maryland and Walpole is out of those picks. I'm not at a point where I could say which of the North teams is going to be in, but that's my bold prediction. Otherwise, we can give everyone more time to think about it, of course, too. Plenty of time between now and the playoffs.
Huh. I'm speechless. So I'm looking at all of our finals picks now. I found our little bulletin board.
Yes, I did.
That
too.
I had saved.
But plenty of big games on the schedule this week in the EHL and EHLP. Now that we're past the showcase, it's kind of that final stretch to battle for playoff positioning. Essentially, it's a race to the beginning of March, and that's when the playoffs will begin. And then the race to make it to Providence is on. So enjoy all the games this weekend, guys. You're all going to a bunch of them. So drive safe on your way to the rinks.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.